Hey, this is Kevin Hunter with Hunter Realty Group, your North Texas home hunter. I'm here with Davis McAlister, who's a coach, kind of an entrepreneur. He's also kind of a life coach, if you ask me, with some of the content and value he's bringing to people's lives. So just wanted to sit down with him today, kind of catch up with him, see what he's got going on. So with that, Davis, what's happening in your world?
So right now I've got a lot of things going on. If you look at my resume, it looks more like a shotgun blast than it does a linear line of things that I've done. So because I have so many different things that I do. We just wrapped up a powerlifting season that I coach a local high school girls team and did really well. I had 27 girls on my team this year.
Wow, that's a big team.
Yeah, all 27 made it to regionals. And then out of that, we had 10 make it to state. And then all 10 finished in the top 10 and had 4 finish in the top 5 in medal placement. So,
wow, great year.
Yeah, so it's been a really good year. And then really kind of been a point of transition and developing my speaking side more, trying to delve more into that aspect. And it's been really productive. I've been on a number of podcasts and radio interviews and those types of things in the last couple of months. I have a couple of conferences that I'm already scheduled up for, and I'm looking to fill that schedule even more.
Cool. Where can we, as far as these conferences, is that something that we can go see you speak at, or is it open to the masses, or is it really kind of specific to a smaller group?
The ones that I'm scheduled for right now, they're kind of more geared towards a specific group. So in the state of Texas, they have what's called the TAPS organization that's over all the private schools in the state of Texas, and they're having their annual coaches conference coming up in June. And I'm one of the keynote speakers. And I'm also going to do a couple of breakout sessions for strength and conditioning and speed and agility and also injury prevention. So they reached out and wanted to tap into all my different areas that I seem to have hands in.
Yeah, so, no pun intended for the tap and the taps.
Yeah.
Watch it. So, yeah, that's great. Yeah, my daughter goes to a private school, so I'm sure some of her coaches will be up there kind of picking your brain.
Yep.
Excellent. And so as far as, some of the content, some of the other speaking engagements that you're looking to do, what do you really want to kind of share with the public?
So, that's probably been one of the hardest things that I've had to figure out is where is my niche? What is my main topic that I'm going to cover and talk about? Because I have so many different areas that I can reach into. And if you look at the overall arcing theme of everything that I've done throughout the course of my life, I've transitioned. I was, homeless as a teenager for a period of time.
Wow.
Ended up going in the military, got out of the military, and kind of got my life on track and got my education. And I've got a doctorate degree now, and then I've got a couple master's degrees, a couple bachelor's degrees, and all kinds of certifications. And my wife told me that I'm not allowed to get any more degrees.
Because, we're done.
Yeah, she said you already have more degrees than a thermometer, so no more.
Nice.
So. But the overarching theme and all that is that there's things that you learn along the way, and how do you take those things? How do you narrow down what those specific things were that attributed to whatever term you want to call it, overcoming, succeeding despite the odds, going from surviving to thriving. There's a number of different ways to put it, but the overarching theme is what did it take to get there?
Yeah.
And really, you never really arrive. You're always constantly developing. There's never an arrival.
Yeah.
People will say that, on the surface, if they look at somebody, man, you've really arrived. You've really gotten there. And those people that are on the other side of that will tell you, you never really arrive. You're just always constantly working and developing, taking steps back, taking steps forward. And so what I want to do is be able to get up and hopefully inspire people. Hopefully motivate people, encourage people, especially people that have thoughts and dreams or things that have been put on their heart that they really want to do, but don't necessarily have the courage to be able to do.
Yeah.
And step out of their comfort zone, and then give them a framework of what they can use to look at to build on that, and how do they achieve that success. It's easier if you have a roadmap.
Yeah.
And be able to provide that roadmap. There's so many different speakers and topics out there on success principles that are taught for business. The other thing that I really want to kind of reach out to people about is how many different areas can you apply those same things? I wrote a book that was put out on Amazon last year It's called the Pillars of Powerful Parenting. Guess what your team told me today? You got a copy of it there. So
Go out and get it.
on Amazon, and there is a study guide that goes with it as well. And
so there is a book on how to parenting. I was told there wasn't.
Yeah.
So now I know. Thank you.
I had to write it. So
yeah, somebody had to. It wasn't going to be me.
Yeah. And really what that was is that was a culmination of 10 years of work.
Wow.
And I started off, I've spent time in the classroom as a teacher and a coach working with high schools, teenagers, and was looking and working with a lot of teenagers that had similar issues that like what I had growing up, and being able to reach out to them and help them and looking at the dynamics of their family, and was able to nail it down to 10 basic principles that seemed to be missing in each of those households, including the one that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And the overarching theme with that is that I've taken business principles and been able to apply it to a family situation. Now, not everything in there is going to apply, because there are topics like unconditional love and and paying attention to your kids and showing your kids affection and those types of things. But the rest of it is business principles. Paying attention to your employees, know who your employees are. Being consistent, effective communication, having a set of core values, goal setting.
Yeah.
Those are all things that they teach in business, but why can't you apply the same thing to your family?
Yeah.
I've sat in conferences, coaching conferences, and I've heard coaches get up there, some of the old school coaches that, they talked about how they missed their entire family, that missed their kids growing up, and was never a part of anything that their kids' lives, but they were successful as a football coach. And that never made sense to me.
Ever.
Well, where's the balance?
Yeah.
I believe that God gave us kids to raise and to influence, and to be able to raise them to go out and be an influence and to motivate others and to hopefully bring people to Christ as well.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you're not home. You can't do that if you're not present, which was the main problem that I had growing up.
Yeah.
I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
Parents worked an hour and a half away from where we lived.
Oh, wow.
They left early in the morning. They came home late at night, and they were never really involved in anything that I did. Now, out of that, you become resilient, you become resourceful, and independent and self-reliant. Yeah. But that doesn't lend itself to a great home environment when you've got kids that have that kind of mindset, and then the parents still want them to trade along. You can't have it both ways. So,
yeah, I remember reading something. I think it's when I was starting to travel a lot for business, and I had a young child, little Aubrey, and I read something that really kind of blew my mind, because I'm a quality versus a quantity person, right? But they said that there's been studies that say the more frequently you're around your children actually has a bigger impact than if you're around them less, but have like big significant moments, right? Like if you're not around very much, but you take them to the zoo or a basketball game or a Dallas Cowboys game, something. My thought was like that would leave the big impression, right? And that would help you raise your kid. But it's actually the exact opposite, where the frequency, the constant touch, the constant involvement you have with your children are really what leads to a very centered and well-balanced child.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it took 10 years to write that book, is because when I started identifying those problems, it made me question myself as a parent. What am I missing? Because at the time we had, our oldest was a high schooler.
Yeah.
And when I started getting these questions from these different kids, and it was just blowing my mind, some of the questions that I would get. And it made me question, what are my kids asking? Who are they asking it to?
Right.
And what kind of answers are they getting? And my wife and I really took a step back and say, you know what, we really need to be more intentional about our parenting. The book really should be called Pillars of Intentional Parenting. But the guy that was kind of helping me through the process of publishing the book, he said, you need to put powerful in there. He said, let's go with the P theme. And it said it flows a little better. So that's what we went with. But really, it's intentional parenting. It's parenting with the end product in mind. You think about business. When you do business and you set goals for your business, you do it with an end product in mind.
Yeah.
Why don't you do the same thing with your kids?
Absolutely.
Parent your kids and coach your kids with the end product in mind.
Yeah. Makes a ton of sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because if not, you're just kind of wandering through the desert, right? But if you have a goal and you have a roadmap and you have a process, right, then you increase your success in whatever you hope your child can be, right? Because like I don't have a specific goal for my daughter other than I just want her to be the best version of her, right? I want her to be able to feel like she's maximizing her life, right? And so that's really the big key for us is I'm not trying to push her a certain way, but we're trying to kind of lay the foundation that allows her to kind of be the best person that she is.
And that's the thing I think where people kind of miss it is they tend to have more of an idea that, guiding your kids towards a certain profession and those types of things are the ultimate goal. Really, that's not the goal. The goal is, what does the relationship look like on the other end of it?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, my oldest is 29. We have a 25-year-old. We have boy-girl twins that are about to turn 20 here in a couple months, and my youngest is 16. Your kids are, once they leave the house and they're adults, they're going to make decisions you don't agree with.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is it something you're going to allow to be the deal breaker for the relationship?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's where that unconditional love comes in.
Yeah, it's funny because when you talk about deal breakers, obviously my wife and I have deal breakers, and our daughter doesn't always agree with them. For the most part, she's a great kid, right? And so every now and then we have to kind of, Stacy and I have to kind of step back and go, well, we want to have a firm hand, right? We want to make sure she has the right values, but at the end of the day, she does everything right anyways, right? Other than some of the, hey, are you cleaning your room and stuff like that? Just the kind of traditional kind of teenage stuff, right? But other than that, she's completely killing it. She's a great kid. So it's like every once in a while we have to kind of take a step back and go, we don't want to be too hard on her because she's really doing everything almost perfectly, right? And she's such a good kid that we have to kind of give her a little bit of breathing room to allow her to kind of grow in her own space as well.
Yeah. My wife calls that PYB. Pick your battles.
Yeah.
Pick your battles.
That's
at the end of the day, what is that thing that you're upset about? Is that the relationship, breaker?
Yeah.
It's funny because I've got two daughters. One of them is extremely meticulous about how her room looks, and she's very self-disciplined, and she's very, organized and very OCD. Everything has to be in its place and organized and all those things. And she works hard in school.
Yeah.
And she had some educational things that she had dyslexia, and so she had to work through those. She's always had to study harder than everybody else to be able to make the same grades.
Yeah.
And then my youngest daughter is a lot less organized. Her room looks like a tornado hit it half the time, but at the same time, she's extremely smart.
Yeah.
And she makes straight A's. She takes care of her business, and then she is developing into a really great leader in everything that she's involved in school. And at the end of the day, very, very different, but at the end of the day, both successful.
Yeah, in their own way.
In their own way,
and
they're both applying the core values that we established in our household, and they're applying it to their life.
Yeah.
It just looks different on the outside, on the surface when you look at it.
Yeah.
So
doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you get there, right? And it sounds like they both have kind of different paths to get there. So. Okay, so we've heard a lot of really good kind of life coach stuff, some kind of parenting coach, some really good stuff. But let's get to the sports coach, and let's talk about your powerlifting team.
Yeah. So I've built up a pretty good reputation among the powerlifting community in the state of North Texas. North Texas has its own state. So,
we realize that.
Yeah.
Not everybody else does, but we do.
We do, yeah. You have South Texas, you have West Texas, and you have, South Texas.
Yeah, those other places.
Yeah, the other places. So, but, the thing that's been consistent throughout my entire career of coaching is always managed to develop really big teams. I have a lot of kids. I always start off with really small numbers. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just grows.
Wow.
And people ask me, are you going to halls and recruiting kids? And I'm like, no.
They're doing it themselves.
They do it themselves.
That's a great compliment.
And the recruiting piece of it is the success that comes from the team
Yeah.
by the ones that I work with. I work with whoever wants to be there.
Yeah.
So there are some things that I do intentionally to kind of weed people out that don't necessarily want to do it and are not dedicated to it.
Yeah.
One of them is that we always do our workouts at 5:30 in the morning before school.
Yeah.
So that
It's got to be tough with teenage kids, right? I mean,
it is.
They
Yeah.
want to sleep till noon.
Yep. And I mean, during the school year, I mean, they're most of the time they don't have to be there till 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock or whatever, and depending on what the other sports are that they participate in. But our workouts start at 5:30 in the morning, so they have to be dressed, warmed up, ready to go. So they've already got to be in the gym, having done their warm up, ready to lift at 5:30.
By 5:30.
By 5:30, and so you start off with setting the standards. You set the standard. You tell them this is what the standard is. And you set the standard high, and because this is all about creating the soil. Anytime somebody comes in and takes over an organization, they're going to come in. They're going to set the standard based off of what they think that it should be.
Right.
And it's what I refer to as creating the soil. So they're going to come in and they're going to churn and mix the soil up for the growth that they expect to see out of that soil that they create.
Right.
And so people will either weed themselves out,
Yeah.
or they're going to thrive and grow in that soil. And essentially that's what I did. But I took programs that had very little to any people in them.
Wow.
Was able to just make the soil, and then those people took it and made it grow.
Yeah.
And there's just basic leadership principles that I've implemented throughout that process. So this current team that I have, I started working with them 6 years ago. My first year, we had 6 girls in the program. And my older daughter was one of them. She was a freshman in high school, and so she was one of the 6. And my daughter already knew what my expectations were because she'd been around me. My kids have always been either in the weight room or on the sideline or in my clinic or whatever. They know how I am.
Yeah.
And they know what my expectations are. My expectations are always high.
Yeah.
And the expectations is that we're going to put it forth 100%, or we're not going to do it at all.
Yeah.
And if you can't give me consistent 100%, then this is not the place for you.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, say, look, all I have to have is one person to have a team.
Yeah.
I can take one person to a meeting. The rest of it is on you and whether you want to be here or not. And
All our icing.
yeah. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. And that's not meant to come across as cold or callous or make them think that I don't like them or don't want them. But what it does is it creates an environment that lets them know that they're there because they want to be there. They're there because they want to be a part of it. And they want to be a part of the success, and they see the value that is brought by following those high standards. Because at the end of the day, and this is what I tell them, this has nothing to do with powerlifting. This has nothing to do with playing sports, because the majority of you, once you leave high school, majority of you will never play sports again. You'll probably work out, exercise, and do all those things, but you probably will never participate in a sport again.
Wow.
And I'm okay with that. That's fine. I really don't care whether you do or not. The point is what I want you to walk away from this is the things that you're supposed to learn out of this. Self-discipline, goal setting goals for yourself.
Yeah.
How much weight you want to be able to lift. If you're competing against somebody trying to get a certain spot in regionals or even in a competition chasing somebody, can you set a goal and be able to meet it?
Yeah.
And it's all on you to do it. And then, and they're going to need encouragement along the way. But there's a lot of times, they'll look at me and they'll go, "Do you think I can lift that weight?" I said, "It doesn't matter what I think. Bottom line is, what do you think?"
Yeah.
Because I can think you can do it all day long. It still comes down to whether you think you can lift it or not.
Right.
And setting them up to create their own success.
Yeah.
And think about that from a business standpoint. If you put people in a position to be able to create their own success and be able to create their own, have a creative and innovative platform to be able to operate off of that's celebrated and embraced, how productive are your people going to be?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this. And then, developing leadership. Leadership has to be developed.
Yeah.
And people talk about, being passionate. And as a leader, you can be passionate, but there's a positive and a negative way to do it.
Yeah.
Passionate or negative passion would be things like, especially where narcissists are involved. It becomes all about them.
Yeah.
It becomes micromanagement. It becomes toxic. It becomes controlling. And that's not the direction you want to go. I can't go around and micromanage every one of them on their list. My job is to coach them.
Yeah.
My goal is to tell them and make correction and allow them to know the correction. And you don't come in with hard correction. You come in and say, all right, look, this didn't work, right? Okay. Take a Socratic approach to it. Why didn't it work? Can you tell me why it didn't work?
Right.
Okay. What do we need to do different? If you can't tell me why it didn't work, let me tell you why. Now, what do we need to do different?
Yeah.
And allow them to make those adjustments.
It's amazing to me because it seems like the same theme throughout all of these, right? Whether it's kind of the business life coach, whether it's parenting, whether it's your powerlifting team, right? It's the same kind of leadership, have a plan, right? Be mentally prepared and set yourself up for success, right?
Yeah.
And those are the main things that, like, no matter which one of these topics you've been covering, it's been the same for each one.
Yep.
That's amazing.
It's about being consistent.
Yeah.
It comes down to even as an individual person, how consistent are you?
Yeah.
There's too many people out there that I've seen that they exercise what I refer to as social schizophrenia. So, they're going to be one way around you. They're going to get around some other friends, and then they're going to act another way. They're going to get around coworkers. They're going to act another way. They're going to get around people they go to church with. They're going to act a completely different way there, rather than being the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
In all scenarios.
Yeah.
That's a lot less to keep up with.
Yeah, it is.
The hard part is just being the best version of yourself every day.
Yeah. And I think as adults, I don't know if we ever really get there, right? I mean, I think that's, to your point earlier, you're constantly evolving, right? You're constantly trying to get there, but it's still a continual journey. And that's one of the first real conversations I remember having with my daughter is, her saying, well, what if they don't like me? I'm like, that's on them, right? I mean, all you have to do is just be the best version of you, right? Be a good kid, have fun. Yeah. And the people that should be attracted to you will be. And the people that aren't, you shouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. My daughter asked me, that a couple of years ago when we first moved to this school, my younger daughter did. And she said, well, what if they don't like me? I said, let me ask you a question. Was your life great before you met them? Well, yeah. I said, is your life still going to be great whether they're in it at this point or not? Oh, yeah. I said, then what difference does it make whether they like you or not? I said, now it becomes a problem if they start interfering with your life. Yeah. Now we got an issue, and then now that's where dad's going to get involved. But
you've got friends.
You've got friends. But still the thing that you want people to get is that their life is still about their decisions and the things that they do. And, kind of going back to the team, I had somebody ask me, why is your team just so efficient? Because when we show up to a meet, I've got 27 girls. I don't have to tell them. I don't have to tell them what time they need to go start warming up to get ready to compete. Yeah. When we walk in, they're all wearing the same uniform. You look at the other teams, it's just like, what did I put on today?
Always clean.
Yeah. We walk in, and of course, all the other coaches, they've made fun of me, but at the same time, they've always said, you always have such great teams and great kids, and I expect their behavior to be a certain way. I tell them, don't embarrass me. Yeah.
Or yourselves.
Yeah. And you're representing our team, and this is the standard that we live by. Yeah. And everywhere you go, this is what people are going to see. So when we walk in, they all wear the same uniform, and we have the same approach. I don't have to tell them what time they need to get up and start warming up and getting ready. They all automatically get up and they do warm-ups together. And it's kind of funny to sit back and watch some of the other coaches and the other teams. They're sitting there looking at my team. I'm not over there telling them what to do. They know what to do. Yep. And part of the reason for that is that it's the leadership development within the team. Yep. I sit down at the beginning of the year with all the seniors, and I tell them, guys, ladies, this is not my team.
Mm-hmm.
This is your team.
Right.
And this team is going to be successful or they're going to fail because of you.
Yeah.
So you're leading this team. I'm here to coach.
Yep.
And you're the ones that are supposed to be here making sure that everybody's following the standard, doing what they're supposed to do to make the team successful.
Yeah. Yeah, and you hear that about usually the best performing teams is they have that strong team leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's leaders within the team that keep people accountable, that keep them on the right track, that keep them from stubbing their toe, right? That do set them up for success. So I'm a college football fan, right? And you always hear that about, what kind of locker room presence do some of these players have. And in the teams with seniors and sometimes junior, really strong leadership, those are the ones that perform the best because they set the tempo and the ideals for the team to execute on.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about that accountability. And when you have, that senior leadership that really embraces they are grateful for all the things that they have learned. And the ones that I feel like have been my best leaders are the ones that didn't have a whole lot of support. They had to work harder than everybody else to be able to be successful.
Yeah.
They may not necessarily have had that natural strength, and they had to work at it. They had to really, work to be able to get to that elite level, to be able to compete at a higher level.
Yeah.
And those have been my best leaders.
Yep. Awesome. Well, it's been good talking with you, kind of seeing the common threads between all of the coaching that you do, right? Whether it's life and business, whether it's parental, and whether it's, in the sports, you have those common themes that really kind of set everybody up for success.
Yeah.
Great. Good talking to you.
You too.